I'm just kind of ready for the next chapter and a new challenge in my life, but I think the reason I decided to announce it when I did was just to have that close.
The moment Michael Jordan and Lexie Hull entered Caitlin Clark's life, everything changed. The space in an emotionally charged and shocking moment, the basketball veteran and rising sensation unveiled an astounding Nike signed a $52 million deal specifically for Clark. The audience became silent as her eyes grew wide, and a reaction ensued. Something fans will always remember. However, why did Hull and Jordan take this action at this time? And what does this innovative? What does this mean for Nike, Caitlin, and women's sports going forward? The emergence of a phenomenon before the confetti started to fall at the. Caitlin Clark has already repeatedly rewritten history in the 2024 WNBA draft. She was more than just an excellent athlete. She was the player and the lifeblood of collegiate women's basketball. Caitlin changed from her first season with the Iowa Hawkeyes to. Every time she set foot on the floor, something electrifying occurred, turning routine games into major events. Step-back threes from beyond the arc laser travels through narrow spaces with such assurance that even the most experienced analysts pause and observe that by early 2024, something extraordinary had occurred. Not only was Caitlin Clark's name familiar to all Americans' household, but it had started to reverberate beyond continents. Hours before tip-off, crowds waited in line to see her. Getting warmer. Every time her jersey showed on screen, TV viewership skyrocketed. Actually, in the 2023 to 2024 season, in terms of viewership and ticket revenue, a number of Caitlin's college games surpassed NBA contests. She brought more than just admirers. Created a movement. Her numbers? Unbelievable. Inside the thunderous Carver Hawkeye Arena in Iowa City in March 2024, Caitlin Clark surpassed all players, male or female, to break the NCAA's all-time scoring record. Who had preceded her? Not only did the world notice, but it also momentarily stopped. ESPN provided exclusive coverage. Instant features were released by international networks, and her visage appeared everywhere, even in Midwest cereal boxes. To Tokyo's digital billboards. This was no longer just college basketball. Caitlin Clark was now a worldwide symbol. Therefore, when the WNBA draft night of April 15, 2024, arrived, it wasn't a matter of whether she'd be chosen first. It was the speed at which the Indiana Fever would leap to make the decision. And when they did, in front of an enthusiastic audience it was more akin to a coronation than a draft in Brooklyn, New York. Cameras flashed, the audience roared. Legends gave a nod of approval. However, what came next? The plot really takes a turn at that point. Because in an instant, that astonished. Two well-known figures emerged, both among fans and insiders. Michael Jordan, the basketball legend, and Lexie Hull, a rising talent in the WNBA. Together, they unveiled an unexpected alliance that nobody anticipated. Caitlin Clark was being offered by Nike. An incredible $52 million deal. Not just for shoes, not just for branding, but for a whole empire constructed. Centered on her tale, her fashion sense, and her inexorable ascent. Her future was once a whisper, but now it was a thunderclap. Throughout the world of sports, Caitlin Clark's expression at that precise moment, captured on camera, told it all. Amazement, thankfulness, and victory. However, there is more to that arrangement than meets the eye. A tale about timing, legacy, and how Lexie Hull and Michael Jordan supported a movement rather than just a player. Now, what happens if Lexie Hull and Michael Jordan start a revolution rather than just a business deal? To discover out, stay in touch. The bidding war that startled women's sports when Caitlin Clark arrived in Brooklyn for. She was more than simply a basketball star by the time of the 2024 WNBA draft. She was a marketing sensation. With each shot she fired, every step she took while wearing sneakers, and every post-game interview she gave were already being observed by billion-dollar corporate behemoths. Not only had her ascent thrilled fans, but it had awoken the whole power of the worldwide endorsement machine. The competition to sign Caitlin Clark was intense rather than subtle, and it took place in boardrooms all across the world. There have been rumors of widespread support since early March 2024. Behind the scenes, offers started to circulate. Puma, Adidas, Nike, and Under Armour entered the arena, locking down the most powerful lady in basketball, not only to sign a player. every brand was aware of the risks. Not only did Caitlin Clark embody exceptional athleticism, but she also symbolized a new era of visibility and the future. Market power and fandom in women's sports. Under Armour arrived quickly and forcefully. Leaked reports from its Baltimore. The headquarters made an alluring offer, $16 million spread over 4 years in addition to the assurance of a signature shoe, which is uncommon for female athletes of all levels. That was sufficient to garner media attention. Adidas then introduced a subdued but strategic bid, $6 million spread over 4 years, along with something else that caused controversy, shoe prototype that was already created with Caitlin's game in mind. Puma also dabbled on the concept. However, when the numbers surged, they pulled out of the contest when the stakes skyrocketed. This was war, not business as usual. Then, while everyone was holding their breath, Nike took action. T was a thunderstrike, not just a contract. In April of 2024, Nike made a game-changing announcement just 3 days after the Indiana Fever selected Caitlin first overall. Offer that destroyed every other item on the table, an 8-year agreement, a base estimated at $28 million. However, it didn't end there. According to people with knowledge of the transaction, performance bonuses, brand royalties, and worldwide activations would increase the agreement's worth to an astounding $52 million. Nike didn't end there. To seal the deal, they pulled in 2 strong players. Michael Jordan, the icon whose Jumpman brand transformed the basketball industry permanently, as did Lexie Hull, a young WNBA star and astute supporter of fairness in the game. Together, they gave Clark a legacy rather than just a deal, a private gathering in Los. Caitlin Clark entered what appeared to be a casual Nike brand gathering in Angeles. Rather, Jordan himself greeted her. Beside him, Lexie Hull was carrying a sleek black box bearing her initials. Within, her initial signature prototype. The instant she realized what was occurring was captured on camera. Her eyes widened, bewilderment giving way to tears as her hand shot to her face. The torch was formally passed at that same moment. What, then, caused Caitlin Clark to lose her mind over legends? Handed the torch to her. You won't want to miss this, so stay tuned. The signature that made all the difference. It wasn't simply a significant occasion for Caitlin Clark when she unveiled her first signature shoe, which was bright, sleek, and branded with her name. Her T was a moment that reverberated throughout decades of sports history. Not since a youthful Michael Jordan signed in 1984. A historic agreement with Nike had the world witnessed such a significant collaboration. However, it wasn't just about performance this time. It was about the future of women's sports, power, and potential. Only a few days after her WNBA draft moment in Brooklyn. Not only was Nike's $52 million offer unprecedented, but it also contained something even more uncommon. Caitlin Clark's character and style served as the foundation for this exclusive shoe brand. She became just the 3rd WNBA player in history to be bestowed with this distinction. Even more remarkable, though, was that it made her the first to acquire. At this early stage of her career, fundamentally, it was a risky wager. Nike wasn't merely acquiring a player. They were making an investment in a movement. One that started with crowded college venues and broken scoring records and had developed into a complete commercial conglomerate. It was a contemporary take on the Jordan blueprint, but with a few significant variations. In 1984, Nike decided to take a chance on Michael, an energetic rookie. They provided more than just a salary. Jordan royalties and a portion of each pair of Air Jordans were part of Jordan's agreement. Sold. Everything was altered by that particular detail. It helped him develop as a brand as well as an athlete. As of today, MJ makes tens of millions of dollars a year from Air Jordan, a multi-billion-dollar business. Not only did the first agreement change Nike, but it also permanently changed sports marketing. Caitlin Clark's agreement is vast in breadth but not structurally the same. Sources with knowledge of the talks disclosed that although she receives her own shoe, royalties on sales are not included in the contract, at least not yet. This implies that while Clark's name, image, and likeness drive the brand, Nike controls the money. That particular information didn't sit well with all of them. The same former Nike executive who assisted in signing Michael Jordan during the 1980s is Sonny Vaccaro. Openly commended Caitlin on her quick ascent, referring to her as one of this generation's most significant athletes. However, he also expressed his disappointment without holding back. They ought to have treated her like Jordan. In late April 2024, he told reporters, "She is the one who should take pride in her legacy." However, the fine print stirred debate. There was no denying the visual effect. Late in April,